On the 640th day of the war in Ukraine, the fighting was concentrated in these areas. In Donetsk front, heavy battles were reported taking place in the Avdiivka sector, north of the chemical plant, as well as southeast in the direction of the industrial zone. In the northern part of the sector, Russian forces attacked near Stepove, south of Novokalinove, as well as near the chemical plant, but were not able to advance much. Armored units of the 47th Mechanized Brigade of the Ukrainian Army remain very active on the Stepove chemical plant line, and so far they have been able to halt the Russian advances in this part of the front. Geolocated footage published today by Ukrainian sources showed Bradley infantry fighting vehicles and infantry forces of the Ukrainian Army engaging in battles with the Russian forces on their positions across the railway. This footage confirms that thanks to the intervention of the 47th Brigade in a series of counterattacks during this week, this part of the front line was stabilized and the Russians only hold positions behind the railway. Geolocated footage published on the last 48 hours shows that the Russian forces also made new attempts to increase their presence northeast of Stepove, but it appears that the Ukrainian army maintains full fire control over the three lines between Krasnohorivka and Stepove, which the Russian army uses as a path for their infantry units to advance and move closer to the contact line. By using FPV drones and various types of artillery rounds, including cluster rounds, the Ukrainian army constantly reduces the number of Russian infantry forces before they even make it to the contact line. Latest geolocated footage published on Russian Telegram channels showed that only one Russian armored personnel carrier with a small infantry unit was able to pass the railway and reach the eastern edge of the village of Stepove, where they were quickly hit by the Ukrainian drones and artillery fire, and after destroying the vehicle, the Ukrainian forces also eliminated a good part of the Russian infantry unit, forcing the remaining Russian troops to run back to their previous positions near the railway east of Stepove. While the situation on the northern flank seems to be difficult but stable for the Ukrainian forces, southeast of Avdiivka, today the Ukrainian resistance took a hit as geolocated footage proved that the Russian tanks were able to advance further and capture more ground inside the industrial zone. This video published today by Russian sources shows a Russian tank advancing about 250 meters from the previous Russian positions and firing at some of the buildings on the western edge of the industrial zone. On another footage showing the same area, the Russian drones observe a group of Ukrainian infantry forces as they withdraw and leave their positions on the industrial zone to move northwest towards the residential areas inside the town of Avdiivka. While there is still no confirmation if Russian forces were able to fully capture this area, according to some sources, the Ukrainian command decided to move their troops out of the industrial zone, and this area is likely to fall under Russian control in the coming hours or days. In Kherson front, fierce battles are ongoing near the Ukrainian bridgehead in Krynky. According to reports from sources on both sides, but also as seen on geolocated footage published during the last 24 hours, it seems that the Russian forces made new attempts to attack the Ukrainian troops in Krynky, trying to fully capture the settlement and drive out the Ukrainian forces. Once again, the Russian forces attacked from two sides, moving through the forest south of the village and from their own positions on the western part of Krynky. The Russian army used a combination of infantry forces and armored units to attack the Ukrainian forces, with Russian tanks and armored vehicles advancing from the direction of the E58 highway south of the village and reaching the first line of the Ukrainian defense inside the forest, where they faced resistance and were subject to strikes by the Ukrainian FPV drones. As a result of the work done by the Ukrainian drone operators, Russians lost at least one T-90M tank, two BTR-82 armored personnel carriers, and one BMD-4 infantry fighting vehicle, all a few hundred meters south of the Ukrainian-controlled area. At the same time, Ukrainian drone operators also targeted a number of buildings on the western part of the village, which Russian infantry forces used as a cover in preparation of a large-scale attack towards the central part of Krynky, which remains firmly under the Ukrainian control. Even though the situation remains unclear and covered by fog of war, it looks like Ukrainians were able to withstand a second major wave of attacks on their bridgehead in Krynky. Friends, if you like my daily updates, I kindly ask you to hit the like and subscribe buttons, as this will greatly help the channel to reach a wider audience. That's all for today's update. Thank you to my Patreon supporters and have a great day.